Hello there, and welcome to our Shield of the Sun video. In this video, we're going to actually talk about the final day. So there's a doctrine out there. It's more of a teaching, really. Some might call it a doctrine, some call it a teaching, and to be fair about it, called rapture, where there's this belief where one day the world, unbeknownst and unknown to them, will see a great sign of a massive disappearance of people where they will disappear and all that gets left is their clothes, their shoes, their wallet, and just a memory of them, really. And then they all disappear, and then there's this big tribulation and a lot of things like that. Now, I'm one of these persons that really is looking forward to the final day of Jesus Christ. I know a lot of you are, and including myself. But what I've often seen with some of these depictions is the hope of God's return, which is always beautiful to see. The return of Jesus Christ and is always a beautiful thing to see. I've seen many movies about the nature of rapture and the Antichrist. There was the Omen movies. There was also, of course, Left Behind 1, 2, and 3. There was the novels before the movie. There was even a remake as well. There was even other movies that had other matters pertaining to it, which I thought was entertaining. A lot of them. I don't think these movies are terrible. If you want to know the truth about it, I think they're a fine quality of film to watch with you and your family, which gives you questions about God. It does actually initialize or spark within the mind the need to want to read Revelation, the need to want to read the Bible, to even fantasize about fighting the Antichrist and being in the midst of that war is an honorable thing, I think. Some people fantasize about being, G.I. Joe or the Power Rangers or something, on one of the cartoons. And so if someone wants to fantasize about being a freedom fighter for God and fighting against the forces of the Antichrist, I think that's a beautiful thing. What I think also is that we should also have the truth about what is the final day. What is it biblically? And things of this nature. So it is true that the word rapture regarding final day is not correlated with each other. That is true. But the truth is, there is going to be a final day, and people are going to be taken up from the earth and caught up into the air to join the others that are already in heaven, where their numbers are all accounted for. There's going to be a very small number of the mankind population, human population on earth, and thus that is all in accordance to Revelation. So let's read Revelation about the final day. So I figured this video should help those who would want to get a clear picture on what the final day actually is and what it would resemble. So, or what it's going to be exactly. So to talk about the resemblance of the facts that are presented in the Bible. So now let's talk about it. For one thing, the matter about the final day is that when it comes, it's a final day. It's a day that ends everything, meaning it's not a day that goes unnoticed. It's a day that does get noticed. But to understand, a thief in the night is to say, I come at a day and time that you are not aware of, in the midst of the havoc that goes on around you. So thieves, when they break through and steal, what do they come upon? They come upon a scene where there's already criminality going on, there's situations going on, there's events going on, there's all manner of things already happening. And so they come in the midst of those events and take what's theirs, what they think is theirs. Or in God's case, he's taking what's his. Or in a thief's case, or a thief, to say not God, is taking what doesn't belong to him. Either way, they come to take what they think is theirs or what is theirs. They're coming to take. And they don't care what's happening. They don't care if this is happening, that's happening, this is happening. If you think this, if you think that, if you think this, they don't care. They have a day and time where they know to take what they're going to take, and they're going to take it. And that's what God is presenting. That I have a day and time where I'm coming to end this, regardless of whatever's going on in your lives. because I already know I put them there. So I'm coming on that day. What day? You'll find out. And that's what it's presented, that it happens in a day and time where you do not expect. So if you're expecting it next week, it ain't going to happen. If you're expecting it in 6 months, it ain't going to happen. If you're expecting it in 20 years, it ain't going to happen. If you think the Illuminati is going to do it, then you're believing in a conspiracy theory. So that definitely ain't going to happen. If you think, any of these conspiracy theories, a government or our government is going to initialize in it, then you're really lost. You're really blind. That will never, ever happen. No nation on this earth can initialize Armageddon. They cannot initialize the final day. They cannot spark a rapture. No nation on earth has any plan to make a fake rapture. That's a conspiracy theory. That's never going to happen. Holograms won't do it. Technology that we have won't do it. Whatever we do, you'll know about it. It'll be very clear to you. So there's none of that going on. So rapture cannot be equated in any computations for which you can muster or think of. If you want to come at it with physics, if you want to come at it with quantum mathematics, whatever you like, it ain't happening. It's just never happening. I'm sure a lot of good folks out there with mind for numbers are out there banging those numbers out every day. Astronomers, scientists, space explorers, all manner of persons. You know who you are. As smart as you are, you're never bringing about Armageddon, nor do you even want to. So let's look at it. So I want you to join me in Revelation 16. So first, to understand, before this rapture happens, well, for one thing, there isn't a rapture. There is a final day. So we have to understand that. There's a bunch of events that are going to probably feel like rapture. You'll in the future, all manner of things happen where people will disappear, nations will depart, the earth becomes affected, a third of the population is destroyed, there's fallen angels and demons living on the earth. So there's going to be a lot of signs, a lot of wonders, a lot of miracles, a lot of paranormal events. And for the Antichrist, he's going to do supernatural wonders in order to deceive people. And that includes making people disappear and all manner of stuff he'll do. He'll turn people into frogs. You'd be quite amazed, turn them into birds. So, he's going to do all kinds of stuff that's going to baffle people's minds. So that's going to go on in the future. And before we see that future, there will be catalysms that takes place in the earth, which have not happened on the scale for which Revelation has prophesied, but other things have happened, but we haven't even got to the surface of it, really. So to understand, worldwide catalysms take place. There will be worldwide catalysms, and the worldwide catalysms happen first. And when that happens, then we see our world change. Our world becomes changed, and the remote interdimensional doors are more open, and there's more traffic of supernatural interdimensional beings. So the traffic of all those races of beings, yes, races, of demonic races and fallen angel races, will be seen and felt in our world more strongly, more opposed to mankind, of course. And then we see the rise of leaders that come in the midst of that. One of them ends up being the Antichrist. And thus the Antichrist is considered the son of Satan and the devil. So it's a construct being that was made, believed to be, according to prophecy, made in the past and then brought to the future. And thus in the future is where he manifests, and that's centuries ahead of our time. So one thing that can be safely seen and realized from the teachings of Revelation and prophecy is that before the final day comes, all of these things happen first. There's a falling away first of the world we're used to seeing, and the world we're used to seeing where mankind runs their nations will no longer be a reality in the centuries ahead. In the centuries ahead, the fallen angels and demons take the reins of the planet, and they even take over our resources and materials, leaving mankind in the grip of struggle in opposition to their existence. Thus, that is the world you will see. And when you see that world, then you can start discussing when the final day is going to happen. Then there's more of the understanding of this is around the corner. Right now, we're very far away from it. So writing books about it and getting all paranoid about it and buying pamphlets to protect yourself from whatever from a plane ride really isn't it. So now let's look into chapter 16. We're going to go there and actually we're going to go there in verse 17. And the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, It is done. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. So all the angelic races, that's to say from powers to man to angels, they were all singing and clapping. So you notice something about the seventh vial, and let me read further so we get understanding. And the great city was divided into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and great Babylon came in remembrance before God, to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found, and there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent, and men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. So first we have this really massive, devastating destruction that takes place. And when this destruction has taken place, it destroys Great Babylon, and now the society for which was structuring order within the world has been completely decimated. So now the entire world is in the grip of its own destruction, for which has been brought upon them. But now that we understand that, we understand something with the seven seals. So with the seven seals, we read something very interesting by the time we get to the sixth seal. And we read this, And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island removed out of their places. So in the sixth seal, we see that there's been an upheaval upon the earth that is literally prepping the earth for the seventh seal. But remember, we just read about the seventh vial. So I'm going to get to that in a second. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? So the sixth seal is literally prepping everybody for what's to come at the seventh seal. So then in the seventh seal, we read about all of God's people that were still remaining on the earth receiving marks. We read about the 144,000 Hebrews that were left upon the earth receiving the mark. And this mark is the mark of God. So you had all these nations that were left, the human population that was left on that day being marked and prepared and protected from these matters of prophecy for which were about to explode on people. So we notice it explodes and the Antichrist empire destroys that empire and destroys a large portion of the earth for which it held its grip over. And now people are receiving this protection. And then we read this in chapter 8 of Revelation. And when he had opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. And I saw the seven angels which stood before God, and to them were given seven trumpets. And another angel came and stood at the altar, having a golden censer. And there was given unto him much incense, that he should offer it with the prayers of all saints upon the golden altar which was before the throne. And the smoke of the incense which came with the prayers of the saints ascended up before God out of the angel's hand. And the angel took the censer, and this is to say the seventh. So this is about, remember what we just read, and when he had opened the seventh seal, and the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth, And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake, and the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. So we know that they had already, 6 of them already sounded their trumpets before the 7th one, which I'm about to read, actually takes place. And so we also know that there were 6 angels who released 6 seals before the 7th one released his. And we also know there were 6 angels that released 6 vials before the 7th one opened his vial. So now we have this going on over here in chapter 10. And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And then when we read further down, and he had in his right hand, well, let's just read it, a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea and his left foot on the earth, and cried with a loud voice as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. And when the 7 thunders had uttered their voices, I was about to write, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Seal up those things which the 7 thunders uttered, and write them not. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and sware by him that liveth for ever and ever, who created heaven and the things that therein are, and the earth and the things that therein are, and the sea and the things which therein, that there should be time no longer. But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, that's to say the 7th trumpet, the mystery of God should be finished, as he hath declared to his servants the prophets. So what do we gather about this? So the 7th seal, the 7th trumpet, and the 7th vial, when do they happen? They all actually happen on the final day. That what starts to take place is that first the 7th vial is released, and then the 7th trumpet is sounded, and then the 7th seal, the last one, is opened up, and hence why these angels come. So the angels that were handling the trumpet, were handling the seals, 6 of them do their part, and 1 is reserved for the final day. The angels that were handling the 7 trumpets, 6 of them release it upon the times of the eras they do, while 1 is reserved for the final day. And the angels that were handling the 7 vials, 6 of them opened their vials, while the other one is reserved upon that day. And so the 7th vial is released, the 7th trumpet is sounded, and then the 7th seal is released. And this is to affect the point of the future, to the point of a past, to the point of their present, and to converge it all into one spot and release every wrath into every spherical line of space and time, which has converged onto that spot, onto that era, onto that time frame, where all the time frames have been disconnected, converged, and then everything has been brought to this one space of time, this one place in time, where the 7th vial and the 7th trumpet and the 7th seal is unleashed upon the same day to destroy space and time, to eliminate the hordes, to uproot the vine, which is to say the evil vine that connects with temptation, and to destroy the circuits of those angels, the fallen angels, and the spears of evil, to destroy the realm of the dead, to then convert it all into hell, and then cut off space and time from all evil persons within the decisions of their makings, which has already been cultivated, leave hell encapsulated and for judgment. And then when the new earth, the new heaven is established, all that was evil, which is say evil wills, is cast into the lake of fire, those persons that didn't want God, including the very prison house, ending everything that is evil and unpleasant forever and ever. Join me in a prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, I pray, Lord, that we understand this truth which has been given to us, the real rapture, as it is called, which has now been presented here. I pray, Lord, that people understand this to be the true final day. And that I pray to please deliver us from evil and from all wickedness and sin, from the first to the last, to deliver us from every doubt and from every satanic activity and from internal and external abuses around us, to deliver us all from evil in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Like to donate to Shield of the Sun, please do so using Cash App, the $ Shield of the Sun, spelled in small case letters close together. I want to say God bless you. I will see you soon. Please follow the instructions in the description box below.